The graveyard expanse was not a name born of poetry, but of fact. Shattered warships drifted through the broken asteroid belt like the bones of giants, their hulks frozen in silence, their scars lit faintly by the glow of a dying star. Whole fleets had died here. Altari cruisers with their elegant spines, Veari dreadnoughts split open like broken shells, nameless frigates stripped of their banners. For centuries, the place had been left to rot, a monument to wars that had never truly ended. Out of that ruin slid a lone human ship, black hull glinting with faint blue lights, its engines whispering against the cold void. The UNS Vigilant. Heavy cruiser, Terran design. One ship among many in the register, but out here it was alone. On its bridge, Captain Elias Kale stood with his hands clasped behind his back, studying the shifting outlines of wrecks on the forward display. He was a man of sharp features and calm eyes, carrying himself with a stillness that gave no hint of fatigue despite the long hours. His crew moved around him with practiced efficiency, their voices clipped and quiet. "Multiple distress signals, sir," reported Lieutenant Renhale from the sensor pit. "Civilians for transports. They're huddled near the far edge of the belt. Signals are weak, power reserves minimal. If someone doesn't pull them out soon, they're finished." The bridge quieted at that. Everyone knew what it meant. Stranded ships, no protection, prey in a system thick with scavengers and patrols. Elias exhaled slowly. "Distance. 2.3 light minutes," Ren replied. "But, Captain, I'm also reading movement. Multiple contacts converging from the Dominion side." The word Dominion tightened the air. The Veari. Predators of the void, proud conquerors who ruled by terror and arrogance. "How many contacts?" Elias asked. Hard to be certain through the debris. "At least 5. Could be more." Murmurs rippled through the bridge. They were one cruiser, deep in contested space. 5 warships, Veari design, could cut them apart without breaking formation. Commander Vera Salas, his executive officer, leaned closer. Her voice was low, steady, but Elias heard the weight in it. "Sir, we don't have orders to engage. If we turn back now, no one would fault us." Elias didn't answer immediately. He stared at the faint flickers of civilian signals on the display, fragile threads of light among the ruins. He remembered faces from other missions, families waiting at evac points, children crammed into lifeboats, people clinging to the promise that someone would come. If the Vigilant left now, those people would vanish into silence. He finally spoke, his voice measured. "Fault us or not, they'll die if we turn away. And every Dominion scout will report humanity as too weak to defend its own. That's a message I won't send." Salas studied him for a beat, then gave a tight nod. "Understood." He straightened, raising his voice so the bridge could hear. "Plot a course through the debris. Shields forward, weapons primed. We're going in." There was no cheer, no applause. Only the firm acknowledgement of professionals who knew exactly what they were walking into. Far across the belt, aboard a Veari flagship carved from black metal and scaled plating, Warlord Syrinx reclined on his command throne. His 4 golden eyes narrowed at the human signature blooming on his display. "A single Terran cruiser dares enter the expanse?" His voice was rich with contempt. "Do they believe their primitive hulls grant them immortality?" His second-in-command bowed his head. "They come for the civilians, Warlord." Soft blood sentiment. "Shall we engage?" Syrinx's lips peeled back in a predator's grin. "Engage? No. We demonstrate. Let the other races see how swiftly the Terrans break. Their kind thinks courage substitutes for strength. We will teach them the difference." Orders spread through his fleet. Warships pivoted, engines flaring. The net drew tight around the civilians, and at its heart sailed one lone human warship. On the Vigilant, tension thickened as the crew watched enemy signatures multiply. 5 confirmed, Ren said grimly. "Heavy gunships, escorts, and a command vessel." "Outnumbered and outgunned," muttered Chief Engineer Lyra. Overheard on the comm again. "Why is it always us?" "Because we're the only ones stubborn enough to be here," Salas shot back. Elias allowed himself the faintest smile. The banter was dark, but it kept the fear at bay. He stepped forward, eyes on the tactical display. "Listen carefully. The civilians are priority. Every minute we buy them is another chance to live. Dominion doctrine says we'll break under pressure. So we won't. We'll hold as long as we can, bleed them where they don't expect, and make them remember our name." The crew straightened. Faces hardened. They were soldiers, yes, but they were also human, and humanity had never been known to die quietly. Hours bled into minutes as the distance closed. The expanse seemed to grow colder, the hulks of ancient battles looming like silent witnesses. The civilians broadcast frantic thanks, their weak signals echoing on every channel. Then the alien fleet appeared, sleek hulls bristling with weapons, predatory silhouettes gliding into position. The Dominion had come to feed. A message pulsed across the comm, its translation sharp and disdainful. "This is Warlord Syrinx of the Dominion. Terran vessel, you are outmatched. Surrender now, and perhaps I will let your younglings live to breed more prey. Resist and you will be erased." The bridge of the Vigilant fell silent, waiting for their captain's reply. Elias leaned toward the comm pickup, his voice steady, carrying no bravado, only iron. Warlord, you should have stayed in the graveyard. Because if you want us erased, you'll need more ships. The channel cut. The crew braced as the first wave of enemy fire lit up the dark. The first volley came like a storm. Lances of emerald fire ripped across the void, hammering against the Vigilant's forward shields. The ship shuddered, vibrations running through its bones. Metal groaned, consoles flickered, but the barrier held. Shields at 72%. Ren Hale called out, his voice taut but steady. Commander Salas gripped her console. They're testing us. Next strike will be heavier. On the main screen, Veari's ships spread wide, sleek formations sliding into place. They moved with the precision of predators, wings of escorts circling the larger gunships, a noose tightening. Captain Elias Kale studied the display, eyes narrowing. They want us pinned in open space. Helm, bring us into the debris field. Keep the wreckage between us and their guns. Aye, Captain. The cruiser tilted, engines burning, slipping into the shadow of a colossal ruined battleship. Enemy fire chewed through the wreck's shattered hull, scattering molten fragments, but the Vigilant stayed hidden. The comm crackled. Warlord Syrinx's face appeared, golden eyes gleaming with disdain. His voice filled the bridge, thick with arrogance. Terran Captain, why drag your crew to death? The civilians are already mine. You cannot hide in bones of better warriors. Surrender, and I may let you live long enough to watch your brood perish. Elias stood straight, hands clasped behind him. His calm never wavered. You think bones frighten us, Warlord? These are monuments, not cages. And I've no intention of dying in yours. Syrinx leaned forward, lips curling. Then you will be remembered as the first fool who mistook stubbornness for strength. The channel snapped off. Contacts splitting, Ren reported. 2 flanking left, 2 circling to cut us off, flagship staying back. They're hurting us, Salas muttered. Not if we turn the herd. Elias's gaze hardened. Weapons, prepare for salvo. Helm, when we clear the wreck, roll us hard and give me a firing angle. The Vigilant surged forward, scraping past jagged metal. The moment its hull cleared open space, Elias barked. Fire. Twin rail cannons roared, spearing one escort before its shields could brace. The alien ship bloomed into fire, torn open by tungsten slugs. Missiles followed, arcing toward a second target. Explosions scattered debris across the void, forcing the other escorts to break formation. Cheers erupted across the bridge, ragged but fierce. Target down, one crippled, the weapons officer shouted. Elias allowed himself a thin smile. Let's remind them prey has teeth. But the counterstrike came fast. Plasma beams sliced through the dark, hammering the Vigilant's flanks. Shields flared, overloaded, then dimmed. The cruiser rocked violently, alarm screaming. Shields at 40%. Hull plating scorched along decks 8 through 10. Salas braced herself, jaw tight. We can't take that kind of pressure long. Then we don't, Elias said. His tone stayed even, but his mind raced. He studied the debris, the shifting angles of wrecks. Humans fought differently from Dominion fleets. Improvisation was their weapon. Helm, thread us through that split asteroid. Weapons, lock firing solution on the nearest gunship. Engineering, divert every spare, what to forward shields. The ship dove into the asteroid gap. Chunks of rock spun wildly, colliding, breaking apart, but the Vigilant slipped through, scraping hull against stone. On the far side, the gunship loomed. Fire all forward batteries. Elias commanded. The volley struck clean. Armor cracked, shields collapsed, flames spilled into space. The enemy vessel veered aside, venting atmosphere. The crew felt the rush of momentum. A fragile hope sparked. Yet Elias knew better than to celebrate. He kept his voice sharp, grounded. Don't relax. Syrinx hasn't committed his flagship yet. He's waiting for us to burn out. Down in engineering, Chief Lyra's voice rattled over the comm. Captain, we've got coolant lines ruptured on deck 12 and the port reactor coils running hot. You keep pulling stunts like that, we'll cook ourselves before they do. Understood. Patch what you can. Keep me flying. There was a pause, then Lyra replied dryly. Always do. Just thought you'd like to know how suicidal this looks from down here. Salas smirked faintly despite the tension. Elias caught the look and said evenly, suicidal or not, it's working. On the Veari flagship, Syrinx's grin had vanished. He leaned forward, voice a low growl. 2 escorts down, a gunship gutted by a single Terran cruiser. His claws scraped the arm of his throne. His second-in-command hesitated. Their tactics are irregular, unpredictable. They exploit the wreckage like a weapon. Syrinx's golden eyes blazed. Then we strip them bare. Enough games. He gestured toward the display. Bring the heavy batteries to bear. Break them. The next barrage was merciless. Beams lanced through wreckage, detonating asteroids in the Vigilant's path. The cruiser rolled, twisted, shields flaring to the edge of collapse. Starboard thrusters failing, the helm cried. Shields at 20%, dropping fast. Elias's knuckles whitened against the railing, but his voice stayed calm. Keep us moving. Use their fire to blind them. If they break rocks in our path, make the fragments work for us. The Vigilant weaved between fresh explosions, using clouds of debris to mask its retreat. Turrets snapped and spat, shredding smaller Veari craft that pressed too close. In the brief lull, Salas turned to Elias. Sir, we can't win a slugging match. Not like this. I know, Elias said, his gaze fixed on the tactical map where civilian transports crept toward the edge of the expanse. We don't need to win. We need to hold. Every second we stand, they get further away. The bridge dimmed as auxiliary power rerouted. Hull plating sparked in places, but the crew pressed on. Sweat glistened, fingers flew across controls, voices stayed firm even as the ship groaned under punishment. Ren's eyes lit as he scanned new readings. Captain, civilians are nearing jump range. 10 minutes, maybe less. Then we give them 10 minutes. Elias straightened. His voice carried across the bridge, firm and steady. We'll bleed for them, if we must. But we will not break. The crew answered with quiet resolve. No cheers, no bravado, just the hard acceptance of soldiers ready to pay a price. The alien fleet shifted again, reforming the net. The flagship advanced slowly now, its great weapons glowing. On the bridge of the Vigilant, Elias lifted his chin, eyes locked on the enemy's silhouette. Let him come. He thinks we're prey. He leaned toward the comm, voice dropping to steel. But we've hunted too. The crew braced. The storm was only beginning. The Vigilant drifted through the wreck fields like a wounded animal, smoke trailing from its scarred hull. Yet every gun on its frame stayed alive, spitting fire when the enemy closed. The Veari flagship advanced now, a behemoth draped in burning light. Its prows glowed, massive cannons charging. Around it, fractured wings of escorts tightened, boxing the human cruiser into a killing ground. Range closing, Run Hale reported. His hands trembled but his voice held steady. 30,000 clicks. Heavy batteries arming. Commander Salas's jaw tightened. When those fire, we'll be lucky to have pieces left. Elias Kale stood unmoving, gaze fixed on the screen. His presence steadied the bridge like a keel cutting through waves. We don't meet them head-on. We use what we have left. He pointed to the tactical overlay. Jagged wreckage fields, unstable asteroids, energy pockets scattered like hidden teeth. This battlefield is ours as much as theirs. Make it bleed for us. The comm crackled, Chief Lyra's voice sharp. Captain, port reactors past safe threshold. You push harder, she'll melt through her housing. Elias's reply was calm, clipped. She only needs to last until the civilians are gone. Buy me 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Lyra barked. You're asking for miracles. Then give me one, Elias said. He cut the channel before doubt could linger. The first barrage hit like a hammer. Twin beams erupted from the Veari flagship, lashing across the void. The Vigilant's shield screamed under the impact, flaring bright before collapsing altogether. The ship staggered, hull armor melting, plating peeling away. Alarms shrieked. Sparks rained from overhead conduits. Shields gone, Rin shouted. Compensate with maneuvering, Elias ordered. Helm, roll us 90 degrees and hug that wreck shadow. Weapons, prep countervolley. Don't waste a shot. The cruiser spun, skimming close to a shattered dreadnought's frame. Enemy fire gouged molten craters across the wreck instead of the Vigilant. Return fire. Elias commanded. Rail slugs tore free, ripping across an escort. The Veari ship staggered, its engines sputtering before it spiraled into debris. The crew roared approval. For a heartbeat, hope flickered. But Syrinx was relentless. His image flashed across every Terran screen, face twisted with fury. Your defiance is nothing. Your hull cracks, your crew bleeds. Still you cling to life? I will grind you into dust before their eyes. Elias's reply was low, iron beneath the words. Then you'd better hurry. Time's running against you. Another strike. The Vigilant convulsed as the flagship's batteries smashed across its stern. A section of hull ripped open, venting fire and metal into the black. Deck lights flickered, then steadied as emergency grids snapped alive. Casualty reports coming in, Salas said grimly. Deck 10 is gone. Fires on 7 and 9. Emergency crews already engaged. Elias's hand tightened on the railing. He gave no outward sign of grief, but the weight pressed into his bones. Lives were bleeding away, traded for time. He forced his eyes forward. How long until the civilians cleared jump range? Rin checked his readouts, voice low but urgent. 4 minutes. Then we last 4 minutes, Elias said simply. The enemy net drew closer, strangling lanes of escape. Plasma fire carved arcs around the cruiser, forcing it deeper into the wreck fields. The Vigilant's guns answered whenever possible, every strike tearing chunks out of enemy escorts. The bridge thudded with each recoil, crew working in perfect rhythm despite the chaos. Salas leaned close, her voice sharp. We're running out of tricks, sir. They'll pin us soon. Elias's gaze never wavered. Then we hold until the last second. Chief Lyra burst over comms again, voice ragged with strain. Captain, containment's failing on the port coil. We lose her. We lose the ship. Options. Elias asked. 1. Lyra swallowed audibly. Then plasma directly through the auxiliary thrusters. It'll burn like hell, but it'll give you thrust, and maybe a weapon if aimed right. But it'll tear the system apart afterward. Elias nodded once. Do it. Salas stared at him. That's a death sentence for the drive. It only has to live a little longer, Elias replied. The Vigilant jolted as plasma vented through its thrusters, jets of blue fire erupting like lances. The cruiser shot forward, momentum surging. An enemy escort swung to intercept, but the thruster flare caught it broadside. Plasma seared across its hull, ripping armor like paper. The ship exploded in a blossom of molten shards. The crew erupted in shock. Even Salas blinked at the ferocity of the strike. Elias's voice cut through. Focus. That was improvisation, not salvation. The civilians were nearly clear. Wren's voice carried quiet urgency. 2 minutes to jump threshold. Syrinx must have realized it too. His flagship surged ahead, cannons glowing brighter. His voice thundered across the channel. Enough. Your sacrifice saves nothing. They will burn once you fall. Elias straightened, his eyes cold steel. Then you'll have to get through us first. The next barrage slammed into the Vigilant head-on. Decks tore apart. Atmosphere vented into space. Half the bridge went dark as systems fried. Still, the crew held their stations, hands flying over cracked consoles. Hull integrity at 30%. Salas shouted over the roar. Wren's voice cut through. Civilians are clear. They're making the jump. Relief swept the bridge, fierce and silent. Elias allowed himself a breath. The mission was done, now came survival. Elias turned, voice steady. Set course away from their vector. Let's buy distance. The helm tried, but the flagship's next strike crippled the starboard engines. The cruiser lurched, half-spinning. Warning sirens filled every corridor. Elias's eyes locked on the great alien warship bearing down. He knew Syrinx wouldn't let them leave intact. He raised his voice, calm and resolute. All crew, brace for final engagement. The civilians are safe. Whatever happens now, remember, you held the line. The bridge crew answered with nods, grim pride etched in their faces. On the flagship, Syrinx leaned forward, rage boiling. End them. Weapons charged. Light flared. On the Vigilant, Elias gripped the railing. His mind was steady, his choice clear. Bring us about, he ordered softly. If we fall fighting. The battered cruiser turned, its guns sparking to life one last time. The Vigilant burned. Flames licked through ruptured decks, and the steady thrum of engines had fallen into a broken cough. Sections of the ship were gone, ripped apart, scattered into the graveyard expanse. Yet on the bridge, battered consoles still flickered, and its captain still stood. Elias Kale wiped blood from a shallow cut above his brow, refusing to sit. The deck tilted beneath his boots as stabilizers struggled to hold. Around him, his crew fought to keep their stations alive. Smoke stung their lungs, alarms wailed, but no one left their post. Status, Elias demanded. Run Hale's voice rasped through the haze. Weapons down to 1 rail battery. Ammunition, nearly gone. Starboard engines crippled. Hull integrity, he glanced at his shattered readout. Barely holding. Salas steadied herself against a console. Her uniform was scorched, one sleeve blackened. And the flagship still out there. They're circling for the kill. A silence followed. Everyone understood what that meant. Elias broke it. Then they'll find out what a dying Terran ship can do. On the Dominion flagship, Warlord Syrinx studied the crippled cruiser with burning disdain. The human vessel should have been a drifting corpse, yet its guns still turned defiantly toward him. Stubborn prey, he snarled. His 4 golden eyes narrowed. They think survival is victory. No. I will crush their defiance, so the stars remember who rules. His second-in-command bowed. Shall we finish them, Warlord? Syrinx's voice dripped venom. Not yet. Let them see the end coming. Let their courage rot into despair. Back aboard the Vigilant, Chief Lyra's voice cut through the calm, ragged but sharp. Captain, engineering's a graveyard. Fires on every level. If we don't vent soon, she'll go up on her own. Do what you must, Elias said. Don't you want to know if we'll have engines after? Elias met Salas's eyes. Both knew the answer already. Engines or not, we hold this ship until it can't be held. Lyra gave a bitter laugh. You always did know how to give orders that sound impossible. I'll keep her alive for now. The enemy moved closer, their formation tightening like wolves around a bleeding beast. Wren's eyes tracked them, fingers dancing across cracked controls. They're hurting us, he murmured. Salas's head snapped toward him. Into what? Before he could answer, sensors spiked. A massive surge lit the display, a dormant fuel cache inside the wreck of a shattered Dominion dreadnought. One good strike would set it off like a star. Elias leaned over Wren's shoulder, studying the readings. An idea took shape, grim but sharp. If we can drag them into range, that explosion could cripple the flagship, Elias said. Salas stared at him. You want to use a shipwreck as a mine? Not want, Elias corrected softly. Need. The crew exchanged glances. It wasn't survival. It was a last blow, a defiance that might echo even if they fell. Helm, Elias ordered, bring us about. Make it look like we're trying to run. Feed them our weakness. The Vigilant groaned as it turned, engines coughing. Sparks trailed across the void. To the enemy, it would look like desperation, a crippled ship fleeing its death. Cyrix's laughter carried across the comms. Yes, run. Flee into the bones of your betters. There is no escape. His fleet surged after them. The chase twisted through broken hulls and drifting debris. Plasma fire carved glowing scars across the void, chasing the Vigilant as it limped forward. Each impact rattled the ship, but it pressed on, luring its hunters toward the fractured dreadnought. Wren's voice was taut. We're inside the blast radius. Salas looked to Elias. If that cache goes off, so do we. Elias's voice stayed even. We'll time it to the breath. At engineering, Chief Lyra overrode failing safeties, sweat pouring down her soot-streaked face. Captain, the core's buckling. I can give you one last surge, but it'll cook the conduits. After that, nothing. Hold until my order, Elias replied. She closed her eyes for half a heartbeat, then slammed her fist against the panel. Holding. The Dominion fleet closed in, weapons bright with gathered power. At their center, Cyrix's flagship loomed, its cannons glowing with the promise of annihilation. Cyrix raised his clawed hand. End them. Now, Elias whispered. The Vigilant rolled hard, guns flaring. Its last rail battery spat a slug straight into the fractured dreadnought's corpse. For an instant, nothing happened. Then light swallowed everything. The wreck detonated, a chain reaction ripping through ancient fuel cells. Firestorm waves tore outward, shattering debris into molten fragments. The blast slammed across the Dominion fleet, ripping escorts apart, sending the flagship spinning in chaos. On the Vigilant, shockwaves battered the hull. Panels exploded, gravity failed, crew were hurled against restraints. But the ship clung to existence, barely. Wren coughed through smoke. Direct hit. Escorts destroyed. Flagship crippled. Salas's eyes widened. By the void, we hurt them. Elias allowed himself the faintest nod. Then our message is sent. On his throne, Cyrix roared as sparks rained around him. His ship reeled, armor torn, systems failing. The humiliation burned deeper than the wounds. One human cruiser, his voice shook with rage. One ship dares mark me so? He slammed his claws into the armrest. I will see their species broken for this insult. Back on the Vigilant, silence settled. Systems flickered, many dead. Fires burned unchecked. The crew stared at their failing consoles, exhausted, battered, but alive. Salas's voice broke it softly. Captain, we can't take another hit. If they regroup. Elias cut her off gently. They've already lost. Not the battle, maybe not even the war. But they lost today. They'll remember that a Terran ship stood here, alone, and did not bow. The bridge was quiet. Then Wren, voice hoarse, spoke what they all felt. We held the line. Outside, the Dominion flagship drifted crippled, escorts scattered. The graveyard expanse burned anew with fresh wreckage. The Vigilant floated among it, scarred beyond repair but unbroken in spirit. Elias Kale stood at the shattered bridge window, watching the dying light. His body ached, his heart heavy with the weight of fallen crew, but his resolve remained steel. He knew reinforcements might never come. He knew their survival was still a gamble. But the civilians were safe, and the Dominion had been bloodied. For humanity, for all who feared the Dominion's shadow, that was enough. Prepare for what comes next, Elias said quietly. If they return, we meet them standing. The graveyard expanse was silent again. Wreckage drifted slowly through the void, glowing faintly from fresh scars. Among the debris, the Vigilant held its place, a blackened silhouette, half crippled but still alive. The crew moved like shadows across the bridge. Smoke clung to every corner, the air systems too battered to scrub it clean. Some consoles had gone dark forever, others flickered weakly, but the heartbeat of the ship persisted. Run Hale broke the silence. His voice was hoarse, but the numbers came clear. No enemy contacts within range. Their flagship limped out system. Escorts either destroyed or scattered. A collective breath seemed to pass through the bridge. Relief, yes, but laced with exhaustion deeper than bone. Commander Salas stood with one hand braced on the ruined tactical display. Her uniform was torn, her hair matted with soot, but her eyes were steady. We did it. Against odds that should have buried us, we held. Elias Kale let her words settle. Then he spoke quiet but firm. Report casualties. The bridge dimmed again, as though the ship itself hushed. 70 confirmed dead, Salas answered, her voice heavy. Dozens more wounded. Engineering's a graveyard. Medbay's overflowing. Elias closed his eyes for a moment. Every life weighed on him, each one a name that would never go home. But they had known the cost the moment they chose to stand. Make sure their families know what they gave, Elias said. Not just that they fell, but that they saved thousands. Chief Engineer Lyra appeared on the comm, face streaked with grease and smoke. Captain, I've done everything I can. Drives are fried beyond repair. Weapons are ghosts. Life support's hanging by a prayer. She'll float, but don't ask her to fight again. Elias nodded. She's done more than enough. A pause. Then Lyra's mouth twitched in a crooked half-smile. She's a stubborn old beast, Captain. Refused to quit until the end. She's human, Elias replied softly. Word of the battle spread faster than ships could travel. Civilians carried tales with them as they fled to safer systems, a single Terran warship standing against a Dominion fleet, shielding them until their escape. By the time those ships reached listening posts, the story had already grown. 5 warships shattered, a Dominion flagship crippled, a lone cruiser holding the line where no one else dared. In taverns, in outposts, in markets across neutral space, whispers spread. Other species, long cowed by Dominion power, listened with wide eyes. For once, the predators had bled, and it was humans who made it happen. On the Dominion flagship, Warlord Syrinx brooded in his damaged throne room. Systems sputtered around him, his ship limping through repairs. The humiliation festered like acid in his veins. One ship, he growled. One Terran cruiser humiliated me before the stars. His second-in-command bowed low, cautious. The lesser races already whisper. They say the humans cannot be broken. Syrinx's claws dug into the armrest. Then we will break them loudly. I will scour their colonies, burn their fleets, drown their defiance in fire. But even as he raged, he knew the truth. A seed had been planted. One human ship had dared to wound him. Others would follow. Back aboard the Vigilant, repair crews worked in silence, patching leaks, carrying bodies, sealing breaches with makeshift welds. The ship was no longer a weapon. It was a coffin that refused to close. On the bridge, Salas approached her captain. Sir, with drives gone, we're stranded. If reinforcements don't come, her voice trailed off. The truth needed no words. Elias looked out through the cracked viewport, watching the slow dance of wreckage across the expanse. His reflection stared back at him, gaunt and lined, but unbowed. We're not stranded, he said finally. We're holding ground. This place is ours now, because we chose to stand when no one else did. If the Dominion comes back, they'll find us waiting. And if allies hear of this, they'll know humanity doesn't vanish quietly. Run, listening nearby, straightened. His hands still trembled, but there was pride in his eyes. People will remember, sir. That's the point, Elias said. Even if no signal reaches home, the expanse itself remembers. Rex tells stories. Today, ours will be carved here alongside them. Hours bled into a strange stillness. Fires dimmed, systems cooled, crews slumped into exhaustion. Amid the ruin, there was a strange peace, the quiet after a storm that should have erased them but hadn't. Salas stood near Elias, her voice softer than he'd ever heard it. Do you think anyone will come? Elias did not answer at once. His gaze lingered on the graveyard outside, where centuries of ships drifted in silence. Some had fought for conquest, others for survival. All now bones in the void. At last he spoke. Maybe. Maybe not. But what matters is that we were here. That we proved a single human warship can shake an empire's certainty. Salas nodded, her eyes reflecting the same fire. In the weeks that followed, signals crackled across the border. The Dominion issued threats, blustering louder than ever. But beneath their fury, doubt festered. And in that doubt, resistance grew. Small fleets that once hid in shadow began to stir. Captains of other species began to ask themselves, if humans can stand, why can't we? The expanse, once a graveyard, became a rallying point. A place where courage had been proven. A warning written in fire, caution. A human warship has entered the war zone. On what remained of the bridge, Elias Kale finally sat, exhaustion claiming him. His crew slept where they could, armor scorched, faces streaked with ash. They had nothing left to give, but they had given everything already. He closed his eyes, the hum of failing systems surrounding him. In the darkness behind his lids, he saw the faces of the dead, and beyond them, the faces of those who lived because of their stand. When he spoke, his voice was barely a whisper, but the ship seemed to hear. Message delivered.